Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very exciting day today, second day of August 2023. Well, 2nd of August has a very special meaning for us. It's Usu's birthday as well today. So wishing her all the very best for the coming year, and hopefully your day is filled with joy and wonder and many happy returns of the day. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, 19 degrees, and today is tipped to be about 23 degrees. We'll get up to later in the day. Well, right now, let's get on with the news. Well, the breaking news is Reserve Bank has once again put on hold the interest rate.
Laura, why shouldn't borrowers get too comfortable?
Well, they mainly shouldn't get too comfortable, Sarah, because there's, even though most economists think that rates have probably now peaked, there's no indication anytime soon that they're likely to come down, and they could be where they are for at least the next 12 months, possibly well into 2025. There's still some possibility that there might be another tweak at some later stage in the year, but certainly the issue now becomes, let's presume they've peaked, but we're looking at them staying at their current levels for a considerable period of time.
So what are we seeing that led the Reserve Bank to make this decision? How is the health of the economy? What are we seeing working that makes it possible to pause again?
Well, the Reserve Bank Governor, in his last statement on monetary policy and the decision today, is saying that the interest rates that have already been, the rate decisions that have already been taken are working to rebalance the economy and will continue to do so, i.e. he's acknowledging that there is this lag effect of monetary policy which is still working through the system, but he's noting things like the fact that household consumption is now quite soft and inflation has peaked and is trending down. So that's given the bank, I think, more room for a belief that things are basically trending the right way, and they don't want to crash the place. Now, both he and the Treasurer are saying that they don't believe that we'll see the economy contract, just that it'll get very, very slow. So they're waiting to see further signs of what will happen in the next few months to make sure that they're not overkilling on the high interest rates. But
briefly, what does it mean for the next decision?
I think what it means for the next decision is that the next decision will be taken by the new governor. I think the next decision is some months away, and it will really depend on what happens now over the next few months. You know, whether, I mean, the labour market has continued to be quite strong, but the governor has dropped the language about the risk of wages blowing out and all those sorts of things. So I think if anything, the only risk for rates to go up again would be that he does note that there is this sticky services inflation, which we talked about last week. That is, you know, services costs are still continuing to rise. But I think if you read the statement as a whole, basically we're in a holding pattern for a significant period of time until inflation starts to fall, which is now not expected to happen or to fall back into the inflation target range until possibly late in 2025.
All right, so for now, we'll just be grateful for a pause. Laura, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
And that's a welcome news, the slight pause there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now we know that farm tractors have been a part of farms, and some of them are very old, antique, but they really keep going. But are they a hazard?
When Felicity Richards is out on her property, safety is always front of mind.
Tractors are big machines with a lot of inherent risk that needs to be addressed.
She's familiar with the hazards that come with the job.
It only takes seconds, fractions of a second, and that can be because you are distracted, tired, thinking about something else, you miss your footing. There's just so many ways.
An investigation into the death of a Tasmanian farmer in 2020 has put further scrutiny on safety around tractors. A Tasmanian coroner now recommends that tractors manufactured before 1982 be prohibited from commercial use. In her findings, Coroner Olivia McTaggart said this was the 5th tractor death in Tasmania since 2017. Nationally, she said between 2012 and 2022, the toll sits at 131 people, an average of 12 tractor-related deaths per year. Felicity says safety is key, but that she's not sure yet where she stands on a ban.
I want to understand more where these are still being used and what the ramifications would be for farmers if they were banned. But I'm very much supportive of all measures and reminders to farmers to maintain their equipment no matter how old it is.
All machinery accidents don't happen just because of the machinery. Sometimes there's pilot error. It may well be fatigue. It may well be that they haven't had appropriate training for that implement.
All are in agreement that safety is paramount.
We want to see no accidents, no farm accidents in Tasmania, let alone any deaths.
Go out there, get it serviced, keep it maintained and make sure you're absolutely optimising your use of it in a safe way.
Meg Whitfield, ABC News.
And of course, yes, you mentioned that not all the accidents happen because of the machinery itself. It's the pilot error as well. And, couldn't say more than that. So that's great. Well, right now there is a call for critical shortage of eating disorder treatments in regional areas. Here's that report.
Corowa mother Leanne Wilson struggles looking at pictures of her daughter's recent 25th birthday, knowing the next one is not guaranteed.
It's the first thing you think about when you wake up. Are they going to be dead or alive in the morning? It's terrible.
Her daughter has battled anorexia for the last 8 years. She's required multiple acute care stays away from her family in metropolitan-based facilities. But each time she's discharged, she finds very limited support back home.
There's just nothing. There's no specialised public psychologists or psychiatrists. Can't even get a psychiatrist here locally.
It's been the same for Waganya resident Natasha Kirk, who was diagnosed with anorexia in 2013.
It breaks my heart that, 10 years ago I was diagnosed and absolutely nothing has changed.
Border families have ramped up lobbying for local and public support services like acute care beds and access to specialists.
What I feel most sad about is when I look back at the journey that we were on, people are still facing the same lack of services.
But even for those who can access the limited help available, cost is fast becoming a problem.
People are not prioritising or not able to afford the gap fee for psychologists in private service. And it's also impacting hugely the frequency of treatment that people are accessing.
People who suffer from an eating disorder have the highest rate of mortality of any mental illness. We really need more support.
For parents like Leanne Wilson, that support can't come quick enough.
Something's got to happen to change this because it's terrible, You're virtually watching your child die.
Erin Somerville, ABC.
That would be a very, very hard thing to watch, as she mentioned. So, hopefully there is more help available, especially out in the regional areas.
More than 1,000 industry leaders joining to discuss a common scourge.
If we don't see performance improvement, then obviously government would have to act. But our view is that the industry is ready to change and we want to work with industry.
A year on from a scathing inquiry into their industry, there was recognition of changes made, but a reminder of work to come.
About 1/4, or 23.5% of women report sometimes, often or very often experiencing sexual hostility, such as being subjected to pornographic pictures or questions about their sex lives.
We are working together to change a culture that has been decades in the making. It will take time. And it requires ongoing attention and vigilance.
We've all done all the easy stuff. We've dealt with infrastructure, we've dealt with physical changes, we've dealt with CCTV and security. Now we're into the harder parts, which is around cultural change. And that is 1,000 different things that have to take place in that.
The sector's confident government won't have to step in.
Industry is moving very quickly and we have started change well before the Enough is Enough report was completed.
But the idea of a statewide blacklist of offenders has stalled.
Through a myriad of legal, natural justice and privacy issues, it isn't something that we have been able to pursue in that format.
Just because something is difficult doesn't mean that it can't be grappled with.
The government maintains it's a matter for industry to resolve, adding its focus has been on supporting small and medium players in the sector, as well as boosting the capacity of a WorkSafe hotline helping victims of sexual harassment and bullying.
Speak up. Report it.
Kian Burke, ABC News.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, big corporate mining giants in an area which is prone to such activities, but I think the awareness is slowly being raised. Well, the next two reports is more police-related, and viewer advice is said, so be warned.
Just weeks after reporting her ex-boyfriend to police for stalking, 21-year-old Jasmine Kaur was murdered. The Supreme Court heard Tariqjot Singh methodically planned his crime, killing his ex-girlfriend out of anger and revenge. In March 2021, he abducted Ms. Kaur from her workplace in Adelaide, bound and gagged her, and drove her several hours north to the Flinders Ranges. Once there, he dug a grave and buried her alive. Today, Ms. Kaur's heartbroken family watched on as Singh was sentenced for her murder. Justice Adam Kimber said he couldn't find the words to describe the terror Ms. Kaur must have felt in her final moments. He described the murder as horrific and callous in the extreme. In a statement, Ms. Kaur's mother said she wished her daughter was still by her side. She said her family had been given a life sentence, having to spend the rest of their lives without Jasmine. Singh was given a non-parole period of 22 years and 10 months, just above the mandatory minimum 20 years.
That doesn't mean you automatically get out. It means you get assessed by the parole board after those decades behind bars about whether you're suitable for parole.
Singh stood silently during the sentencing and showed no emotion. He'll be aged in his 40s when he's eligible for parole. The court heard he'll likely be deported to India when he's released. Candice Prosser, ABC News, Adelaide.
And such a tragic and gruesome news, that one, and justice be done. Now, mother and son plead guilty to a serious charge following fatal hit and run. Here's that report. Once again, viewer advice.
Distressed and horrified.
I just can't fathom that a person would do that to someone else.
The grieving family of Kumanjai Dixon travelled from across the country to face a mother and son who committed a gruesome crime. Deborah Mason and her son Joshua today pleaded guilty to attempting to pervert the course of justice and interfering with a body, while Joshua also admitted to a charge of hit and run causing death. The court heard Joshua called his mother instead of 000 when, driving on a suspended licence, he ran over 43-year-old Kumanjai Dixon as she walked on the road. The pair bundled her lifeless body into the back of a ute and buried her in a shallow grave in Darwin's rural area. But their attempts to hide the truth quickly came undone. Kumanjai's death sparked a widespread search when, in the light of day, her disembodied leg was found by passing motorists on the side of the road. Joshua then panicked and moved her body again. But the mother and son were arrested within days. Joshua later telling police, "Because a drunk idiot wants to walk across a dark road at night time, my life is over. Her life's over, my life's over, my mum's life's over. All because an idiot wants to walk on a road." Kumanjai Dixon's family members packed the courtroom, many of them staring and shaking their heads at the mother and son as the details of their crimes were read to the court. Two of her family members even sat in the witness box, directly addressing the pair about the impact their crimes had had on their family. Speaking directly to Deborah Mason, one said, "We as mothers are supposed to be teaching our children right from wrong, and what you did was so wrong. You could have prevented this from escalating, but you chose not to." Before looking straight to Joshua, telling him, "You have a sister. Put yourself in our shoes. Imagine someone disrespecting your sister's lifeless body, not once, but twice."
She's always going to be in my heart. And it's just hurtful and painful that she's not there anymore.
The pair will be sentenced in October. Melissa McKay, ABC News.
Another gruesome news there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to look at some of the functions and events taking place. Let's take a look. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we have for you today in this segment. It's been wonderful having your company today on the second day of August. Well, right now we are up to 20 degrees and high winds will be beginning soon. Well, it is August and the westerlies will be coming, so would be Eka. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from us.